Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 9 Lives, Season 2, Episode 17. I hope you've all had a brilliant start to your Mondays. I'm coming at you 3 days after the London Marathon. Yes, 2 and a bit, actually. Feeling okay. Very glad I did that race. I love that you guys have been sort of on a journey with me through will I, won't I? Am I going to do 2 marathons in 2 weeks? And I did do it. And I'm so glad that I did because it really reminded me of just how resilient I am. I'm going to tell the story of London Marathon, but first I just wanted to say thank you all for the support on this podcast as always. Having your ratings on Spotify, if you can see, if you would like to give me a 5-star rating. I know it's cringe to ask for this, but for those of you who don't know, I use the Spotify studios to make this podcast, and they support me by giving the resources that mean that I am able to make 9 Lives happen. And without them, I can't make it happen. So the rating is basically a way of showing Spotify that you guys like this podcast. So if you haven't already, if you could give this a rating, it basically means I get to keep making this for you. So thank you guys. Sorry for the cringe. Back to London Marathon. So it was a beautiful day, and I'll tell you for why. I had a really hard time over the prep for Paris Marathon. Preparing for that race was not the most enjoyable experience. You've all heard why, because going fast is not something I'm very good at, and it's not something I want to force my body to do anymore. And I really fell out of love with running. I lost my why, I lost my reason. I just didn't want to do it anymore, if I'm being completely honest. And so London, I kind of had 2 decisions. I was going to say no, and I was going to kind of find something else in fitness that was going to make me feel like myself again. Or I go to the start line and I just try. I don't have to finish. I can just go. I can soak up the atmosphere and see what happens. So the morning of, I woke up in a really good mood because I'd been eating really well after Paris, and I had enough energy to get up and put some music on, put my outfit on, put my bib on, and I made my way to the start of the London Marathon. And it's the best decision I could have made because that race reminded me why I love running, why I love the running community, and why I love London, actually, because I'd kind of fallen out of love with London too. I didn't even think about that, but I'd really grown to resent 2 things that are so present in my life, which is running and the city that I live in. And London Marathon, gonna get emotional talking about it, brought my love for both of them back, like 100-fold. I mean, from start to finish, it was just a gorgeous race because I didn't look at my watch. I didn't look at my pace. I didn't look at anything, my heart rate. I didn't look at how far I was. I was kind of trying to ignore the mile signs along the way and just sort of have fun. I met maybe 20 of you on the course, people tapping me on the shoulder, giving me hugs, stopping for chats. People made signs. I made friends along the way. I stopped and danced. It was a beautiful race. And I think that's what I really love, and what I've discovered that I love about being a human being and about the fitness industry is that my place and my happy place in a race or in life is at the back of the pack, encouraging others to go past me and pushing them on. That is where I belong. That is my happy place. It was a beautiful day, and I'm so glad that I did it. And I finished it. I think it was like 4.5 hours or something. Who cares? Like, it was just wonderful. So that was 2 marathons in 2 weeks. And what a month April has been. And I'm really looking forward to having a rest now. So that is the plan. Today, we're going to be talking about if I could go back to the very start of my fitness journey, this is what I would do. So basically, everything I've learned along the way, mistakes I've made, things I wish I knew, things I wish I'd done, if I could go back to the very beginning, this is exactly what I'd do. First of all, because it's never going to be straightforward because it's me, I want to talk to you about something called the indomitable human spirit, the enduring, unyielding, and resolute aspect of humanity that allows us to persevere through adversity. It is the unbreakable force that lives within every human being. the unwavering spirit that propels us forward in the face of hardship, tragedy, and adversity. It is this inner strength that allows us to continue pushing forward when all seems lost, to rise above our circumstances and overcome the odds. It is the force that fuels our resilience and determination, allowing us to face seemingly insurmountable challenges and emerge victorious. This spirit is not limited to a select few. It is present in all of us. We can cultivate it by developing a sense of purpose and understanding of our own values and beliefs. We can strengthen it by building our inner resilience, practicing self-care, and seeking support from loved ones when needed. Through the indomitable human spirit, we can achieve incredible feats, and we can inspire others to do the same. We can be a source of hope and inspiration for those who are struggling, and we can help others find the inner strength and resilience that resides within them. Ultimately, the indomitable human spirit is a powerful force that lives within all of us. This is something I've been thinking about a lot, especially over the last few weeks of all the marathons and everything that I've been doing, is the human spirit and how unbreakable it is. And if you look through history and all the things, hardships that human beings as a race have been through and everything we've come through, it seems that there's this like golden thread going throughout history that's just this magical force that you can't really quantify, but everyone feels it. You've felt it at least once or twice in your life when you've been going through something really, really shit, either like physically or mentally or with your family or grief or whatever. It's this spirit that feels really, really like unbreakable, and we can call upon that in times that are really hard. Fitness journeys are not what you think. From the outside, it might look like bulging muscles and glowing skin and perfect daily routines, but it's not. It's muddy adventures, it's calloused hands, it's rainy runs that charge up that thing we call the human spirit. That thing we can't touch, but we can all feel. I really love that feeling, and I really love thinking about that when I'm going through hard times, how the human spirit really is remarkable and unbreakable. So here are some points, things that I wish I could go back and sort of tell myself, or things I've learned throughout I suppose we're going on 4 years now. 3 years of a fitness journey, 4 years of a kind of wellness journey. The first thing I would tell myself is to slow down and enjoy it more. There are so many little moments throughout the last 3 years and throughout both journeys, whether it's weight loss or fitness or mental health, that were huge moments that I wish I slowed down more to enjoy. And I really let myself soak it in and congratulate myself. Because I know we've touched on it before, but we do have a habit of achieving things and then constantly needing to one-up that. So little things like the first time I ran for 5K, which was a really, really big achievement. But the next thing I did was say, right, when am I going to run 10? You know, I wish I could slow down and really enjoy it, because I think the best parts of a journey are the bits at the beginning and the bits in the middle. They are not necessarily the bits at the end. The end is great, but the most beautiful parts, I know I've said this a million times, is the bits in the middle and the bits at the beginning. So I tell myself to slow down and enjoy it more. And any of my clients or anyone who is on a journey now, slow down and enjoy it, because you're in the best part. The second thing is I wouldn't allow myself to get so overwhelmed by everything, because it can feel very overwhelming, all the information that is out there and everything that's buzzing around in your brain. It's so easy to feel like you have a million different things you need to do in a day, or a million different things you need to do along the way on a plan in order to make this work. But you can break it down into 3 main bits, 3 funnels, let's call them, which would be nutrition, training, and mindset. Now, I know that's easier said than done, like just sort your food, your movement, and your mindset. Of course, you know, this entire podcast is about how to do that and how difficult that is. But if you do break it down into those 3 segments, it's quite easy to see what needs to be done and what's going wrong. Because when one of those gives way, it's then very difficult to start to see progress. You don't necessarily need to be juggling all three perfectly at all times. Just knowing that you've got your eye on those 3 segments of your journey is a really good way of simplifying it. So if we take the very beginning, for me, nutrition wasn't about following a meal plan, because we all know I didn't track calories and don't now, but it was about trying to incorporate a couple of whole foods in, each meal, just really, really trying to not have everything be so highly processed. Training, there was no training, there was just walking 3 or 4 times a week. Then mindset was beginning to journal, ask myself, why do you feel sad? Why are you self-sabotaging? Asking the questions, why? Not how are we going to fix it, just why. Or how are you feeling about life? How are you feeling about yourself? So those were the beginnings. And then as I go along, nutrition turns into, maybe we can start to think about protein. Maybe we need to look at, incorporating a bit more vitamins and minerals, things for your hair, skin, and nails, things for your cognitive function, omegas. Training started to begin to look like maybe we could try to jog to the end of the street. Maybe we could buy a dumbbell on Amazon and try doing like 1 upper body workout a week. And mindset began to be therapy, being honest with my friends about my issues. And now, obviously, nutrition is fueling for sport, so it looks very different to the middle and beginning of my journey. So making sure my carbs and calories are high enough to maintain my training outputs. Training is, if we take the last month, has been a lot, it's been training for a marathon. And mindset is very much just about creating balance and lowering stress in my work-life balance. But those are the sort of 3 things that I've always got in my mind as parts that I can focus on. And I always know that one will always sort of slip. So usually I find if my nutrition and training is bang on and I'm like in an amazing race prep, or, I'm doing a really cool strength goal and it's all ticking along, I sometimes find my mindset goes a little bit down because those 2 are really like on it, whereas sometimes my mindset is really, really great and I'm finding a lot of balance in my personal life to like fitness and work. So that means that sometimes my nutrition is a little down there because I'm going out a lot more with my friends. I'm having more takeaways because I'm feeling a lot more jovial about life and less dialed in. But basically what I'm trying to say is those 3 don't have to be perfect, but it's a lovely way of trying to sort of balance things. And along the way, as your goals and your life changes, they will always sort of ebb and flow as a Venn diagram. But it's a good way of keeping an eye on things. Also, the rest outside of those 3, because there's a lot of other things that need to come into this, they can be figured out along the way. You don't need the answers straight away when you start things. There is so much space and time for the future version of yourself to figure it out. So you need to trust them, put some trust in them too, because they have the answers. So there's no need for you to be anxious about it now. Just think, cool, future Cass in like a couple of months, I'm sure she'll have the answers. I'll leave it up to her. No need to keep myself up late at night worrying about that. But just try and nail those 3 as best you can and you will be golden. Another thing I would have loved to have done is learn about the functions of the body and the brain sooner, because I find it so motivating and helpful to know what is going on in my organs and how my brain works. Not only just to have agency over decision making and why I feel stressed, why I feel depressed, why I'm not making the best decisions, why I'm suffering from brain fog, or what the dopamine system is, where is serotonin produced, what foods aid in keeping my cognitive function high, what liver health is, what my resting heart rate is, how do I improve my aerobic base. These are all things that, the information is all out there. It's in this podcast too, but I wish that I had done a little bit more reading and researching, listening to podcasts, really giving myself and arming myself with knowledge that made the journey feel a little bit more worth it, because it's very easy for me now as a qualified trainer, someone who has worked with hundreds of people and myself throughout so many different forms of human beings and different training applications, for me to, I know now, I know all the information, but if I could go back, I would have started the process sooner of learning, because it gives you it's so empowering to know what's going on inside. And it's also really empowering to know what's going on in other people's brains and bodies and minds. And I had a conversation with someone a few days ago in the comment section of a podcast clip about one of the best things a young woman or man can be is well read and well referenced in this world, whether it's psychology, philosophy, literature, art, film, music, all of it. It all gives you a kind of knowledge of the world, history, geography, being well read and well referenced kind of sets you up for a better journey through this life. And it doesn't need to be self-help or fitness at all. It can just be being worldly and having knowledge about everything. And I think that going back, I would have loved to have told myself that knowledge, it's power, and it gives you power over yourself and power over your decisions. And it also kind of, and this is something I found throughout the last 4 years, people can't really hurt you as much anymore when you know why they're doing what they're doing. Because I read a lot of philosophy and psychology, and I'm obviously very passionate about it now, and neuroscience, obviously very top line, very for dummies stuff, but it gives me a vague understanding of why people react the way they do, or why they say things, or why they project, or whatever it is. It kind of makes you feel invincible, both within yourself and as a mirror for other people. So I would just read more, and as you go along this journey and your brain is flourishing and your thoughts feel clearer and you feel more able to engage with the world, use it. That's why you see people who are on these journeys, they read a lot of nonfiction or fiction, or they start getting into studying other things, or they start a podcast, or they're just hungry for knowledge in the world, and they're hungry to discover the world and discover themselves. So that would be another one that I would do sooner, because I think I would have got to the place I wanted to be much sooner had I have armed myself with more knowledge. The next thing is I would have learned to work with my mental illness and not against it. For a long time in the beginning of my running journey or fitness journey, I kind of almost let my mental illness, I wouldn't say use it as an excuse, because it is an excuse, it just is. It's a reason why some people find it really hard to train and keep a routine, having a mood disorder. But I kind of let it derail me way more than I needed to. As in, I would miss a session because I was having a really bad episode and spiraling or whatever it was, and I would just not be able to go out and into the world and do what I wanted to do that day. So then I'd cross off the week on my calendar and that would be it, Whereas now I know that missing a day or missing a session at the gym means that it's not the end of the journey, it's just a bad day for my brain. And now I just, on my calendar, will put a little brain emoji. It was just a bad mental health day. And keeping track of those is really important. But just knowing that, my therapist said to me, I think a few weeks ago, that you sometimes have to treat your mental illness like a stroke. You wouldn't tell someone who's had a stroke not to have a bad day where they can't do things because they're not able to, like other people. I sometimes have to just allow it to wash over me and just have a bad day. And it's okay. It means that tomorrow, if I'm able, I can then go to the gym, but it doesn't mean you get to throw in the towel, cross off the week or month and say, that's it, it's over. You've got to learn to work with it. So you've got to bend your routine, but not break it. And I wish I'd known that sooner, because I did spend quite a few weeks just thinking, well, one day's missed, so that means that it's all going to be missed and I'll never run a 5K and I'll never get any better at anything. So I would definitely learn to work with it, not against it. Okay, next up is eat more. Now bear with me on this one. I am not talking about my weight loss journey here. I am talking about my fitness journey. The two are very different, and I'll tell you why. A weight loss journey is one thing. Often, people go on meal plans. You're looking more at creating a sensible deficit by cultivating a sustainable, healthy, active lifestyle. Fitness journey, you are looking at performance markers, so endurance, strength, hypertrophy, whatever it is. Also on a weight loss journey, you might be looking at the scale as a metric. I personally didn't. I just went by field measurements and photos because I don't like numbers. And I know I have the kind of brain that would like the numbers. So that's why I never had food as numbers or my body as numbers. But I digress. The two are very different, especially on a fitness journey. Scale weight is not, it's really, unless you have a very high-tech body scanner, you're really going to find it difficult to have those two as the same thing. And what happens a lot for people who go through extreme weight loss is they come to the end of their weight loss journey, as in, please don't, you can't lose any more weight. Like, you don't need to. You're healthy and happy and thriving, and, you've got a healthy body composition. And then what they don't realize, and this is what happened to me, is that weight loss journeys and fitness journeys are different. So then you cross over into your fitness journey. So you're starting to run, you're starting to lift quite seriously, but you're stuck in your old mindset. So you're like, right, but I'm trying to be in an energy deficit, and I'm weighing myself. If we're taking an example of a client, let's say, and I'm weighing myself and I'm measuring myself, and everything's slowed down a bit. Like I'm not seeing any more progress, and I feel really sad, and like I'm not, I'm putting all this work in and I'm not seeing the results. But you have to change the metric of measuring your progress when you're going from one to the other. Often the scale goes up, your calories most certainly have to come up, and you have to eat more food. You cannot spend your life trying to lose weight or being in a deficit or being on a weight loss journey forever, because it would be miserable and it wouldn't work. You damage your progress. For me, it was about learning how to gradually increase my meals and allowing myself to eat like an athlete, which was at first a little scary because I'd spent a lot of time fixing my relationship with food to then have to eat a lot more. But I plateaued my progress in fitness and gaining muscle and gaining endurance and strength because I refused to eat more. The minute that I started eating more, I saw my lifts got better, my skin got better, my hair got better, I gained muscle, I was running further, my breathing was better, my recovery was better, my sleep was better. Everything started to click into place. And I remember being like, oh, I'm not on a weight loss journey, I'm on a fitness journey. I'm on a strength journey. I'm on an endurance journey. The two can't have the same processes. They're not the same thing. And so I started gaining weight and muscle, and I started running further and getting into sport. And, I think I wish I could go back and tell myself, the weight loss is not forever. That journey ends, that stops. And then you get to do what is the most beautiful part, which is, gaining. You've lost. Now you're gaining endurance. You're gaining strength. You're gaining experience. You're gaining muscle. You're eating loads of food. Like, these are things that you will only learn when you've been on that journey, but it's so important to break that sort of cycle. Because you've got to live in an abundance mindset when it comes to fitness. And I see so many people stall or ruin their progress by not eating enough. So you've got to eat enough food. Hot take. Hot take coming up. Stop following fitness influencers. Now, this is maybe a little bit of a personal one, so I'm not sure if any of you guys will relate. And I know this is probably hilarious coming from someone with an online presence, but I don't see myself as a fitness influencer. We all know that by now. They ruined a lot of my joy for the journey because I started to compare myself. And when you are in a comparison trap, inspiration goes away. You cannot be inspired and compare at the same time. The two do not go together. So I went from being inspired by cartoons about horses, films and books and video games, like the wide open plains of the wasteland of Fallout 4. I wanted to be a raider, going across, running, strong enough to lift up a suit of armor. Those were the reasons why I was training Lara Croft. You know, we all know how much I love Tomb Raider. Those were my whys, you know, freedom, vitality, strength. And I don't know anything about fitness influencers. I still don't. People will sometimes say like, oh, this person, she's been in the game for ages. And I'm like, I don't know who that is. Like, I grew up following tattoo artists and film people. That was my world. So I had this beautiful naivety to the fitness space because I was never in it. And I think that's I thank God every day that I still have that. Like, I don't know who these people are, but coming into it and seeing these women, the way that they trained, the way that they showed their bodies online and the way they looked kind of ruined a lot of my progress because I was constantly comparing and changing my goals. You know, I'd be like, oh God, okay, maybe I shouldn't learn to run. Maybe I should be doing glutes 4 times a week and trying to train my abs. And like, you know, as much as I think it's great, and if you're someone who really loves that and finds it so wholesome to follow these people and they're great inspiration, then absolutely go for it. I have a list of people who I adore. Most of them have been on this podcast who have the same sort of relationship with fitness that I do, which feels very wholesome and non-restrictive and, you know, expansive and intelligent. You know, I think there are loads of people like that. But just don't get lost, you know, in the habit of following men and women who, when you do wake up or when you are scrolling, all you're seeing is like bodies, 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 bodies. Because I got into that place for a while and it really upset me and it really ruined a lot of my progress, both like mental health and physical. So I would tell myself to stop following fitness influencers and start following athletes or, you know, people like Savannah, people like Finn, you know, friends of the show. But I'm not necessarily saying you can't. This is just things I would tell myself. It's just an interesting one to think about. That's all. Inspiration doesn't necessarily need to come from other people's bodies, other people's diets. It can come from books and TV shows or films or how you feel about yourself or the character you'd like to create, the avatar you want to build, you know? Just leaning into the uniqueness that is you and not having it be clouded by other people's routines. Another thing I would do is lift weights more. I always loved running and I've always loved running and jogging and walking, so important. But lifting weights it's integral to your journey for so many different reasons. Heart health and cardio is a fantastic way to see progress, both within and outside of your body. But lifting weights and building strength for body composition, bone density, and also metabolism is integral to this journey. And I know that running is the hot thing right now. Everyone's running marathons and we're coming off the back of London and there's a huge buzz around it. And if you want to start doing that, fantastic. Me too. I love it. But please remember to always do your strengthening and your lifting exercises because they are going to build the frame that holds the engine, that allows you to go through and do all of these incredible things. The progress that you want and maybe the progress that you're seeing online in body composition or endurance and goals would probably be created by lifting weights more than running. And a lot of people say like to me like, oh, and it's sweet because I know that they don't know about fitness. And I used to think this too, because God, I mean, we're all out there just when you don't have a clue, it's so hard to learn. But they'll ask like, I love your shoulders. Is that from running? Everything you see and all the strength that you see is from lifting weights. That's what my frame is from. It's from lifting weights and being consistent with my strength training. The food that I'm able to eat, the metabolism that I have, lifting weights. The fact that I'm injury-free most of the time, came off the back of 2 marathons, completely injury-free, lifting weights. Is it hard to do both? Yes. We've spoken 4 episodes ago about hybrid training and how to balance it and all of that. It is hard to do both, but it's necessary. And they make They complement each other beautifully and one makes the other easier. So please, lift weights. It's so important. I wish I could go back, and because there was a period of time where I was just running in 2022 and I lost a lot of my progress in muscle density, body composition, and strength. So I wish I'd kept that up, because I for some reason I thought that my progress I wanted to see was all from running, but it was from lifting weights. And as soon as that clicked in and I started doing that, I felt much better. And I tell all my clients, and also especially older clients that come to me, like my mum and dad's friends, I train everyone that I know, but because I can't resist it, because I'll meet someone new and be like, have you ever thought about lifting up a barbell or entering a marathon? But it is one of the most important things for quality of life later on in life, from carrying the shopping to sitting on the loo to doing things unassisted, muscle and bone density and everything. It's really important. So keep lifting weights. Lean into the delusion, because you're manifesting your dream life without even knowing it. I have told the story a little bit about my own journey and being completely delusional about being a long distance runner before I even was one. Same goes with lifting weights and being a power lifter. Lean into that delusion, because you will make it come true. If you have an ideal self, or if you could picture yourself in like 3 years, how does that person hold themselves? How do they feel? What does the music they listen to sound like? What do the weights they lift look like? What are they able to do with their body? They're running marathons. They're strong. They've got good muscle density, great body composition. They're confident in themselves. Their cognitive function is brilliant. They're running their own business, whatever it is. They, have a podcast. How can you act like that person in your everyday life until you become them? And that's literally what I did from my bedroom in lockdown. I wrote down in my journal, I want to be a marathon runner, I want to be a power lifter, and I want to be self-employed. I want to work for myself, and I would like to be debt-free. Those are what I wrote down. And I had loads of other goals about sobriety and mental health. That's for another episode. But I then started to build my routine delusionally, complete delusion, around how am I going to arrive at being that person. So for me, that looked like, I think it was like 2 runs a week, 3 strength training sessions a week, gratitude, working on my qualifications as a trainer, trying my hardest to make sensible financial decisions by giving up smoking and drinking, saving thousands of pounds that way. And, starting to work for myself, starting to take on clients, being brave enough to share my story, just building momentum with this thing that was turning, and then arriving at the person that you see before you today. And that's because of delusion, which is in its own way manifesting, because you're just becoming the person you want to be until you one day will wake up and be like, oh, bloody hell, I am that person. So be delusional. Seriously, it works. Obviously be sensible, but dreaming and dreaming big is a wonderful way of just letting your human spirit decide what is it you really desire and how can I get you there. Don't aim for perfect. Aim for happy, aim for calm, aim for capable, aim for you. Shoot that arrow true and with great force into the parts of this human experience that make you glad to be alive. So I wasn't aiming for perfect, and the times that I tried to aim for perfect body, perfect life, perfect split, whatever, is when I fell off, and it wasn't, my routines weren't working and I wasn't seeing progress. So I stopped aiming for perfect, but I sort of concentrated more on what was really happening. What were the real happy moments? I got back onto a horse. I rode a bike with my dad. I felt happiness without substances. My mum told me she was proud of me. Is that not better than perfect? Those are the moments that really matter. So I'm going to end today on a story that I thought of on the train here, actually, because I was reading about the human spirit and it just reminded me so much of this one time in France that really, it's just this very visceral memory, and it's what I remember to be a part of my fitness journey that was the human spirit. So I hadn't felt my human spirit in a long time. And I think that this was probably the first time that I'd really had one of those experiences where I felt that I had a soul as a human, and I could really feel my Cassia-ness, my humanness, my individuality and my expression in the world coming forth and being true in one decision that I made on a holiday in France. So my grandma has a place in France, and it's a crazy old farmhouse, and we go there every summer. And, you know, my family are very active and busy people. And for a long time, I spent all those summers either not coming, staying home in London to party and drink, or coming and hiding in my room and hiding food and alcohol around and not being very nice to be around. Certainly not being the Cassia that my family knew. So they didn't, I'm sure they didn't enjoy having me around. I know they loved me, but I'm sure they didn't enjoy having me there. So where we are is very rural, and there's like a couple of different villages near us. And my parents were going for a coffee in a neighboring village one morning. And what's so cool about these journeys is there's so many firsts, right? The first time you get up early and you go for a walk and you join your parents, when usually the person that they knew, they wouldn't even ask you to get up, because Cassie doesn't get up early. She's always hungover. She doesn't want to be outside. She doesn't want people to see her in the sun. She waits until the dark to come out. But this morning they said, we're going to go for a coffee. And I said, okay, I think I'm going to meet you there. And they're like, what do you mean you're going to meet us there? Get in the car. I was like, no, Mom, I'm going to run there. They were like, really? I said, yes, I am, with a calm smile. And that was a smile I hadn't felt since I was 15 years old, when I broke my arm falling off my horse and my dad asked me if I really wanted to get back on the saddle again. Yeah, I am. So I packed up my little bag. This was before I could afford running vests and running shoes and all of that business. So I just had like a little fanny pack that I wore around myself. You guys will probably remember it. It had a cross strap, and it always gave me blisters here, but it was all I could afford at that point in my journey. I certainly wasn't able to buy the hydration packs you see me running in now. I packed up my little bag. I just had like this cubes of cheese and water and, you know, my phone, and that was about it. So the road between the villages is this like really long path, and it's very hilly, and it's between the fields, and it's about 21 kilometers. So it's a half marathon. So you can see, like, you know, it was a big thing for me to do. And it was very hot. And I just remember it was such a visceral memory and feeling, because the crickets were chirping. I could smell the warm baked earth, the crops being watered, the smell of sunflowers and sweat. And I hadn't smelt something like that since my childhood. So I had this like road stretching out in front of me of all of these emotions coming back to me, the smells, the sights, the sounds. So I ran there, just me and my bottle of water and my snacks. I saw the fields I hadn't played in since I was a little girl, and I came across some cows and horses and farmers, and I smiled and waved at them all on my way. The village that my parents were at is at the top of a steep hill with a cafe at the top where they have coffee. I ran up the last stretch covered in sweat and a grin as large as a Cheshire cat. My family were clapping for me when I got to the top, waving and grinning and pointing for strangers to say, look, that's my daughter. She ran here. And yeah, that memory is a really special one, because I just remember the look on my mum's face, just being like, I can't believe you've done this. And she was so proud to show other people, like, this is my daughter. She's a complete lunatic. She's run to this village and we're so proud of her. And how cool is that? And I remember feeling like myself, just so like myself. And I knew then that I loved moving myself, and I loved the adventure of exploring places through what my body could do. But that day was no different to any other Thursday. I just decided I was going to do something extraordinary. And that is the indomitable human spirit. Okay, guys. So thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode and you learned some things about your journey and my journey. And, you know, it can be hard because while you're in it, you don't have with the privilege of looking back on experience and drawing from that. But I hope you can see that fitness journeys don't all need to look the same or feel the same, and they can happen in so many different ways and for so many different reasons. But it's little stories like that run in France that will stay with me until I die. Like, I know that I'll remember that day, and I still can smell the earth and the crops and the feeling of the sun, and just feeling so free and like so childlike, and the feeling of coming up to the end of the hill and sitting down and having a coffee and a pastry and just thinking like, fuck, this is living, right? This is what it feels like to be alive and be proud of yourself and feel like you're giving yourself a chance. And I remember just, that feeling was so visceral, and it's something I cling on to now, and it's something I feel on every marathon and every gym session and everything. I'm giving something to myself, and that's why I get so emotional over fitness, because it really is more than fitness for me. And I really, this whole podcast and everything I do is dedicated to allowing other people to feel that feeling that I felt. That's all I want for people. And when I was running London, so many of you grabbed me to tell me that you feel those feelings because of me. And anyway, I can literally die happy, basically, because I've done what I set out to do. So thank you if you did stop me and say that, because you have no idea what that means. Anyway, it's been a while since I've had a little cry on the podcast, so that's good. We're going to end with a passage today, which is called Small Kindnesses. This is from our lovely producer Rihanna, who you all heard in the last episode talk about her experience with marathoning, and I'm sure she will remember that until she's old and grey as well. So, Small Kindnesses by Danusha Lamaris. I've been thinking about the way when you walk down a crowded aisle, people pull in their legs and let you by, or how strangers still say, bless you, when someone sneezes, a leftover from the bubonic plague. Don't die, we are saying. And sometimes when you spill lemons from your grocery bag, someone else will help you pick them up. Mostly, we don't want to harm each other. We want to be handed our cup of coffee hot, and to say thank you to the person handing it. To smile at them, and for them to smile back. For the waitress to call us honey when she sets down the bowl of clam chowder, and for the driver in the red pickup truck to let us pass. We have so little of each other now. So far from tribe and fire, only these brief moments of exchange. What if they are the true dwelling of the holy, these fleeting temples we make together when we say, here, have my seat. Go ahead, you first. I like your hat. Love it. So me. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I've got some fabulous guests lined up for the last few remaining episodes of this season. So get excited for that. There are people who you'll know and love, which is very exciting. And if you have anything or any topics that you would like me to speak about before the end of this season, we've got about 4 episodes left, 4 or 5, give or take. So if there is anything I haven't covered yet that you are, thinking, I'd love to hear about this or that, please let me know. I'll leave a little box for you guys. Follow 9 Lives on Instagram if you don't already. I'd love to hear what you would think your human spirit moment is. What is it that made you feel like, I have that unbreakable human spirit? I'd love to hear your stories, as always. With much love, peace and blessings. Until next week, guys.